Good day from Franklin, Tasmania, and I found my way to a rather special little place. Whenever I check into accommodations when I'm traveling, I always look to see what in the area might be of interest to people, and this here would be no exception. This is the Wooden Boat Center in Tasmania, and as I was looking at it, they actually what they do is they'll give you tours here. So I'm going to take you on inside, and we're just going to look around and see. They've got a quite an exhibit inside, and then if we're lucky, they'll give us a tour of where they're actually making these wooden boats. So let's go on inside and check it out. All right, as the sign says, come on in. We are open. Oh wow! You just come in here and guess what you smell? No, it's not something in the oven. It's you smell nothing but wood, and that would make perfect sense, as this is the Wooden Boat Center. And you know, they make more than boats apparently. Look at this. You can buy yourself some refrigerator magnets, and they've got I'll just take a little look around here and see what all they've got. They've got different clothing you can buy. A rugby jumper. See, now back in the States we'd usually call this like a sweater, but they'll call these jumpers, if I'm not mistaken. And then over here, look at this. You can get some cutting boards. Taz Oak selling. Look at that. The Wooden Boat Center, Tasmanian Yew and Pine. So apparently Yew and Pine is a type of wood that is quite exceptional for building boats, and I can imagine a lot of other stuff. You can see they've got the Christmas tree all set up here. Fantastic. What a nice little place. Here is the May Queen. Built on these shores, the May Queen is Australia's oldest sail trading vessel still afloat. She was built in 1867 by Alexander Lawson right here on the banks of the Huon River. Wow. The May Queen carried timber and supplies over 106 years. She was not fitted with an engine until 1924. Look at some of this. I'm actually showing that to you upside down. There's Athol Walter. One of the best things about the boat, building is working in wood. Cod doesn't make fiberglass trees. Or God, I think that says God doesn't make fiberglass trees. The best thing is working in wood. Look at this. Proudly produced at the Wooden Boat Center. You can get yourself some shavings, perhaps. Wonderful. Very nice. Woodwords. Boat builders have a language of their own. How many languages do you speak? Many of the words used by boat builders may sound odd or unfamiliar to you. Learning to speak fluently in the language of boat building is one of the first hurdles for every new student. Can you pick the correct meaning of these boat building terms? And here they have it. They have, you know, what's a crook? What's a fiddle? Bright work. Schnei? A trunnel? Futtock? And a joggle. So, very nice. Tie yourself in knots. What a special little place. Now here, look at this boat right here. Wow. Very nice. Look at that. So I think we're going to have an opportunity to go in and see them making some of these boats. Build a dinghy with us. You see, you can come and build a dinghy here with these folk. And they have a lot of other information. Look at this, the Wooden Boat Center Tasmania, a school like no other. The Wooden Boat Center Tasmania believes the best way to learn is on the job. That's why its diploma students spend 18 months building a boat from start to finish. 18 months, a year and a half. This is the only school in Australia where you can study for a Certificate 1 shipwright. It's a comprehensive course covering tool use and maintenance, timber selection, forestry practices, design principles, construction, methods, repair, restoration. So, boy, just a lot of stuff here. Under construction, they've got the key parts of a wooden boat that you can see. Wonderful. And here is the there's the workshop. And as I am filming this, there looks to be a nice gentleman standing right up here who I think is going to be kind enough to give me a little bit of a tour. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm Graham. How are you going?
My name's Tom. I'm an American. And I understand
you're one of the few that got out before COVID got you.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
great.
So nice to meet you. You were going to be kind enough to take me into the factory.
I think we could do that for you. Yeah.
So as I was telling your lovely lady over here, I have a YouTube channel.
Right.
And I like to travel around the world, and I find special little places to share with people. And got a lot of people that are probably going to enjoy taking a tour here. So let's go on inside.
Okay, no worries. This is actually the only traditional wooden boat building school left in Australia.
This is the only...
This is the last of the...
You said school? The only school?
That's right, yeah.
And I'd imagine you're the teacher?
No, I'm just one of the volunteer guides here.
You're one of the volunteer... You must be a sailor.
I am, indeed.
You
yes.
are, huh?
Yeah.
You're a sailor?
We are a community-owned group, so it's owned by the community of Franklin. So, apart from our professional boat builders and our manager, most of us are volunteers who just want to make sure this place continues well into the future.
Now, I see a few individuals here working on boats. Are these students?
Yes, they're students. This year we're running a 12-month shipwrights course, and that's the first time we've run this course for a while. And it's been a difficult year with COVID and everything. Sure. We managed to maintain the course through that whole time. And we next year we have about 12 students booked in fully for the full 12 months, as well as another 28 students building dinghies. And so our courses are actually booked out for the whole of next year.
Wow. Now, the word shipwright, I was seeing something out there like shipwright 1. I would assume if there's a shipwright 1, that's like a tongue twister. Is there a shipwright 2 and a shipwright?
Not really. The term shipwright is actually interchangeable with boat builder. They're virtually the same thing. Usually you find shipwrights are referred to for working on larger vessels, whereas boat builders tend to be the smaller ones. But the skills involved are just the same. And if you're a boat builder, you can be a shipwright. There's really no difference. Now,
I'm just kind of curious, if you don't mind, what's the furthest sailing trip you've ever taken in your life?
The furthest sailing trip I've ever done was back in 1988 during the bicentennial year we had, and I did a 2-week voyage from Brisbane back to Sydney on one of the first fleet tall ships, which was
wonderful.
One of the greatest experiences of my life. Yeah.
Wonderful, fantastic. Let's go inside, take a look here.
Now, of course, you have to appreciate too that being down here in Tasmania, we're using the best boat building timber in the world.
Are you using hewn pine?
We're using hewn pine. That little dinghy you see there is pretty much entirely constructed from hewn pine. And
now, what's so special about hewn pine?
The thing about hewn pine is that it has about 7% of the tree as an oil. The technical name is methyl eugenol, but that's what gives it that beautiful fragrance. If you've ever smelt hewn pine, it's an unforgettable smell. It's really gorgeous. And it prevents any kind of rot, wet rot, dry rot, fungal decay, insect attack, marine borer. It's just the perfect boat building timber.
The French used to stop here to...
They did. The French...
repair their ships.
They did. The French actually got here a lot before the English did. unfortunately, or fortunately, I suppose, depending on where you're from, the French really only came through here for research purposes. They weren't really looking to acquire land or further their empire, whereas the British, on the other hand, were keen to find new colonies to throw their unwanted villains onto the other side of the world. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, let's. Can we go inside?
Yeah, absolutely. You might as well come and have the full guide.
Your name was Frank, right?
Graham.
I'm sorry?
Graham.
Graham. Oh, okay. I know a Graham up in Newcastle.
Right.
So, okay,
So
fantastic.
this little dinghy here, for instance, the Hue and Pine dinghy, that's being built for a client on the mainland, and
Look at this. Now this is like a rowboat.
This is a rowing and sailing boat.
Rowing and sailing.
When you have a look on the inside, you'll notice.
Look at that wood.
She's fitted up with a centreboard case, so that she'll be a rowing and sailing dinghy. It's called a puffin. This particular model. It's
called a puffin. Okay.
It's an English design by actually an Australian designer called Ian Uhtred, who
Look at this.
does very traditional craft.
And these are these like rivets?
Yep, these are copper nails.
Copper nails.
Square nails, and they pass through. And if you have a look on the inside, you'll notice there's all rivets on the planking and on the ribs as well.
Look at that.
That's a traditional way of fastening what we call a clinker dinghy here.
I'm sorry. You call a what?
A clinker dinghy.
Clinker
dinghy.
Dinghy.
Now in America you'd call it a lap straight dinghy. So there's a little bit of a difference in terminology, but the construction method is the same.
All right. Look at this, folks. Let me give them a look at that.
And it's essentially the same construction method as the Vikings developed thousands of years ago. The Vikings didn't have copper nails like we do, so they used to use iron fastings or timber fastings.
Wow.
This little Hue and Pine dinghy, if it's well looked after, will last for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Okay. Hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yes. Yep. We've got some very old boats in Tasmania because the timber is so good.
Now you must own a boat yourself, right?
Yes, I have.
What's the name of your boat?
My boat's called Mary, or Mari. It's the Scottish name for Mary. She's what they call a Tamar River cod boat that was built in 1885 in Launceston.
Yes.
And it sailed down the east coast of Tasmania in the early 1900s, and then spent about 60 years up on the Great Lakes in the Central Highlands of Tasmania. I'm now, it's probably its 5th or 6th owner, and I'm restoring her at the moment.
Wow,
and,
fantastic.
I can vouch the timber is still as good as the day she was built.
Really?
The smell of the Hue and Pine is just as strong as it was when that boat was put together.
Fantastic.
130 plus years ago.
Now, does Australia export a lot of this wood around the world?
It's Hue and Pine is a rare commodity.
Okay.
It's what's left standing on the west part of Tasmania is all protected, the trees that are standing and living. We're only allowed to harvest either dead trees or trees that have fallen or trees that have been lost in the river.
Interesting.
Many years ago, when the pining industry was at its peak, a lot of the pines that were actually felled by the piners were pushed down into the river, and they would wait for the flood tide to take it down to the head of the river and then raft it up and take it across to the mills at Strawn on the west coast. But what happened with a lot of that timber is that it actually sank in the river. It's got a very low specific gravity just above water. But the thing is, even if it's been under the water for 100 years, when you bring it up, all you do is cut half an inch off either end of the log, and you're back to perfect timber.
Wow.
So that's the remarkable quality of this timber.
Look at this.
Yeah.
So the students that come in here to build these boats, right? I mean, there's, as far as terminology goes, you have boats, you have yachts, you have ships.
Yep.
Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So what I'm seeing here are boats.
These are boats.
These are boats.
Boats or dinghies, whichever.
Or dinghies. But you make more than that here, right? Don't you make yachts?
We do make yachts. Over the years we've made probably a dozen large 30-foot boats. And at the moment we're producing a 29-foot motor cruiser just down the back here.
You have one for sale I saw on your website.
Yes, we
do. It's woodenboatcenter.com, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Woodenboatcenter.com. Here's another boat, or dinghy.
Yeah.
Look at this.
This is a very small dinghy, and this is built in what they call the cold moulded method, where we use very thin strips of timber, and they're put on one layer diagonally one way, another diagonally the other way, and then a final coating of longitudinal members.
Really?
Now these timbers, each laminate is only 3 millimeters thick.
So you have 3 layers. You have crisscross, and then these here.
Yeah.
And that gives you some idea as to how...
Yep, and it's all glued together and then sanded and fiberglassed over the top to make it waterproof.
Isn't that something?
So this will be less than ½ inch thick, but very, very strong. No frames or anything on the inside. It's just all shaped out of the timber.
Wow.
And the timber that we're using is a very hard to get timber called Kingbilly pine, which only grows in Tasmania. It's actually a relative of sequoia, the Californian redwood. It's in the same genus, and as you can see, it's very, very light. But it's again a very beautiful boat building timber, but extremely hard to obtain now. It's very, very rare to be able to get a piece of Kingbilly pine these days. But it makes a super lightweight boat. And the gentleman that is building this boat is pretty close to 90.
90 years old.
Adrian Dean's his name. He's one of our very first teachers back here in the early 90s. And he still comes in every Tuesday. He's got a real passion for boats. So
the students, as far as do the students come in and work on their own pace, or?
They're working to a schedule. If you're working on, say, that little dinghy over there, that's constructed in about 8 weeks. And we might have anywhere from 1 to 6 students working on that.
I see.
And that's what we call a recreational type course, whereas the full-time 12-month students are working on this type of dinghy here. This is another partly constructed dinghy.
Is this a full-time student here?
Yes, this is one of our full-time students. Who's
now you're
fitting another plank.
Now, silly question, but your students don't get grades, do they? Like, you know,
they do get a certificate of completion when they're finised.
But it's either a certificate or no certificate. I mean, it's not like you kind of got a certificate.
All these guys are doing a fantastic job. The skills that these guys are bringing, and it's just fantastic. And of course, we've got some absolutely fabulous teachers as well.
Wow.
In fact, some of our teachers are actually former students from many years ago.
Look at this. Fantastic. This is really nice. What a wonderful tour.
It is.
Do you get a lot of people coming through and taking tours?
We do. Prior to COVID, we got, we'd get 20,000 people a year. Obviously, that's dropped off during the last few months, of course, with the COVID. And it has sort of hurt our bottom line to some degree. But we were very fortunate. We actually closed the centre down, so it was only the students and the teachers that were in here. We didn't have the public at all. We wanted to ensure that the students were able to continue their course without interruption. That was the most important thing for us. And fortunately, we haven't had any problems with COVID.
Is this a non-profit?
It's a community not-for-profit centre.
It's a community not-for-profit. Yep. So you must take donations.
We'll take donations. We make a lot of our money through the tours, people coming in buying souvenirs, because all the merchandise that we sell here is locally made.
Wow.
We have a lot of volunteers who come in and create beautiful little marine-related sort of souvenirs out of the offcuts of timber that we use from the boats. So everything we get is recycled.
You know, there'll be a lot of folks. I've been in Australia now 9 months, and I'll be here a year before I leave. A lot of Australians tell me that I've seen more of Australia than they have.
That's so true. Australians are noted. We have a higher number of people with passports than a lot of other countries.
Yes.
But if you'd like to get a good view of this one, we can go upstairs to the platform and
Wonderful.
You can actually look down inside the boat. This is our Franklin 29, which is our production boat, which will be for sale.
Irish boat building.
Irish boat building. That's this little black vessel just above us here, which is it's an example of a boat from Ireland called a curragh, which is a very light timber boat covered in fabric, used by the West Coast fishermen. And that was built many years ago by an Irish boat builder who came out for one of our wooden boat festivals.
There's a gentleman that watches my videos. His name is Harry, and he is from Belfast. He's from Belfast, so I'm sure
he
that...
would probably very much recognise the shape of that curragh. They were a very lightweight fishing vessel. We just look after that for the wooden boat festival. Was down here in Tasmania, in Hobart, we run the second biggest wooden boat festival in the world.
Yeah, but Wooden Boat Festival, and when is that?
It was due for February next year. It has been put off because of the COVID. We're going to have smaller regional festivals around the state, including here. But it's held every 2 years, every odd year. And it's the second biggest wooden boat festival in the world outside of France.
No kidding.
And we get...
Have you been to that boat festival?
Absolutely. I would never miss it. We have people coming from all over the world. In fact, last year, in 2019, we had 9 American boat builder alumni from the Northwest School of Wooden Boat Building here, and they built an American boat called a Haven 12.5.
Fantastic.
And,
so what are we looking at here?
What we're looking at here is our latest major project. This is the Franklin 29.
Yes.
You can imagine she's 29 feet long. It's built in a method called strip planking. If you look closely at the inside of the hull on the sides, you can see various layers, and that's Western Red Cedar from British Columbia, and it's like a tongue and groove flooring system. The boards are linked together around the frames and then fiberglassed inside and out. So it provides a very strong boat, but you get the best of both worlds. You've got the beauty of the timber with the low maintenance of the fiberglass.
Wow.
And on the stern of the boat there, you'll notice that beautiful timber on the back. That is a laminated piece of what we call book-matched hewn pine. That's only about 1/4 of an inch thick. It's laid over the plywood on the inside, and also on the bulkheads on the inside where that black fitting is, you can see 2 lovely pieces of hewn pine on either side. So when the boat is finished, it will really look first class. It's a sort of a motor cruise. It'll have a beautiful laid deck of celery top pine, which is another beautiful Tasmanian timber. And we've already had some interest in prospective buyers.
Now I have to ask. I mean, what do you think this boat will sell for when it's finished?
We'd be looking probably close to somewhere between $260,000 $280,000.
Beautiful.
And will do 17 knots under speed. It's got a 110 horsepower Yanmar diesel fitted, and she'll push along very, very nicely.
Wow.
Nice boat to sit back and have a gin and tonic in the afternoon.
I'm sure. Let's go down and take a closer look at it.
Yeah.
All right, Graham and I found our way down to the ground level, back to the ground level. And you know, I hate to admit this to you, but just until you told me that this was the stern, as I've been traveling around the world, I've been telling people the front of the boat was the stern. So now that, you know, I probably have people all around the world confused because they're thinking,
yeah,
look at this.
The blunt end is definitely the stern.
This is beautiful.
This is what we call book-matched hewn pine. And if you look in here, you'll notice where the 2 pieces of timber are joined together, so there's like a mirror image on both pieces. And these little marks in here is what we call bird's eye. And they are where the tree has been cut down and the little twigs have been growing out of the tree. And that's the result. You end up with the little figure of the tree. And that's very highly desirable, particularly in furniture making, to get that bird's eye hewn pine.
Wow.
It's a lovely
beautiful
extra bonus.
And look at the side of this. Now this has been sanded?
Yes, this has been what we call faired. It's been coated with a paint. F-A-I-R-E-D.
Faired.
As in faired. And what happens is the boat is completely sprayed with a thick sanding compound, they call it. And then we take large sheets of plywood with sandpaper glued to them, and we just work our way across. It's called the torture board, and you know why it's called a torture board by the time you're finished, because it's pretty tortuous. But what that does is take away all the high spots, so you can see that's fair, and there might have been a low spot there. So where they've faired that, the paint stayed, but it's taken the paint off the high spot, so you end up with a perfectly flat surface. Because when this is painted in a high gloss, you don't want to see any imperfections. So this will have several of these processes where a paint is applied and then sanded back off till we get absolutely perfect finish.
Wow.
And
wonderful. And this would be the bow.
This would be the bow. This is where Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio would be seen up on the front there.
Wow.
Not that we hope this one ends up the same way as the Titanic, of course.
No. Now, are these, I mean, right at spot on 29 feet? They are. It's not a smidgen.
It's not a 28.5 foot, no.
Not a smidgen above or smidgen below. You get it spot on.
We'll get it spot on. We've got some of the best boat builders working on this boat, and some of the best students.
Wow.
And yeah, she'll do about 17 knots under power. She'll get up and plane. So.
Fantastic. All right. Well, listen, thank you for the
walk
and talk. Is there anything else that you think you might want to share with me?
Let me think.
or share with the world, I should say.
If you wanted to look at some of the boats just outside on the dock, there's some very interesting history just outside here.
Yeah, why don't we go out and take a look at those?
Yeah, just through.
Yeah. All right, we found our way out to the marina, right? This is the marina.
Yeah, this is our little boathouse.
And these boats here are what are these? These are from tell me about these.
These are owned by the Living Boat Trust at the moment. They look after them for the community. They're another community group. The actual design is called a grebe, and they were designed by Ian Uhtred. And there are 6 of them, and they were built probably over 20 years ago by 6 different primary school groups in the Huon Valley. And they, although they're adults now, they can still remember which nail they put in which boat. But when they were completed, they were given in trust to the Living Boat Trust, who look after them.
Beautiful.
And each year the trust will run a program, a 6-week program on the water, where we bring local school kids down and we teach them how to row and sail and give them a bit of water safety and a bit of confidence. Wow. So the kids down here have a little bit more than some of their mainland cousins in way of extracurricular activities.
Now, can you clarify something for me, please? Every time I meet a Kiwi, they tell me that they're better sailors than you Aussies. What's the story on that?
It's a very healthy rivalry, and they are very good sailors.
Yeah. All right. Do you have a competition with them now and then?
Only friendly.
Only friendly.
Yeah, we're actually very, very brotherly, but we like to they're
good people.
Take the Mickey, as we say down here.
The Kiwis are good folk.
They are very good sailors.
So let's go look at some other boats over here.
Yeah. Did you?
All right, so Graham needs to say goodbye, and in doing so, I'm going to say thank you for the wonderful tour.
You're
really wonderful tour. You folks will welcome just about anybody to stop by. And
we certainly do.
Take a look. Now, as you're going to go inside, you were telling me about a vessel right out there, right?
Yep. On the end of the pier, that is a 1930s Danish fishing ketch called the Yukon, which was rescued in Copenhagen by its current owner, David. He bought it for a carton of beer.
A carton of beer.
And the location at the time of purchase was 60 feet underwater, so hence the price. He spent about 9 years doing it up on a little island in Denmark, and then he and his wife and their 2 small boys sailed it down here, down past Scotland, the US, through the Panama Canal, and island up across the Pacific.
And you give, is this the one that you give tours on?
They take an hour-and-a-half calm water cruise on the river every couple of days.
Wonderful. Well, maybe I'll have a chance to join them. All right, sounds good. Thank you, Graham. I'm going to go out and take a look. All right, have a great day. No sooner had Graham and I wrapped up that the rain started coming. And you know, I've been in Australia now the better part of 9 months, and I can't say that it's rained a whole heck of a lot on my visit. But as I walk out onto the marina to share this vessel with you out there that was bought for a case of beer, you can see the umbrella, which is giving me a little bit of shelter. But we'll go out and take a look at this beautiful vessel here that you could actually set sail on if you were so inclined to come down and visit these wonderful folks at the Wooden Boat Center here in Franklin. This is looks like the Huron here, and I was just here last evening on a walk and talk, talking to a wonderful gentleman in the adjacent yacht named I think his name was Bruce, if I'm not mistaken. But here you have the Huron. Look at this, and you could take a nice hour-and-a-half cruise, or sail maybe would be the better word. Yukon, it's called the Yukon Tours, built in 1930 in Denmark, and it was underwater when the gentleman bought this and sailed this thing all the way from Denmark through the Panama Canal and all the way over here to wonderful Australia. Look at this. What a beautiful boat. Look at that. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you enjoyed this visit to the Wooden Boat Center. And I'm sure that there will be those of you out there that may never have the opportunity to come down to Tasmania, let alone Franklin. But hopefully this tour gave you a great idea as to how special of a place this really is. All right, have a wonderful day.